Hi bakers, I'm Sally, and today I'm showing you how to make a delicious chocolate and vanilla marble cake with a fun, swirly, zebra striped pattern throughout. This is a beautiful layer cake with showstopper appeal, and it's easier to make than it looks because it starts with just one batter. We're finishing it off with a creamy chocolate cream cheese frosting, which is the perfect complement to this zebra cake. Let's get started. For the dry ingredients, I have sifted all-purpose flour here, and I'm going to add baking powder, baking soda, and salt. This is gonna start with just one batter. We'll make the vanilla batter first, and then we'll divide it to make the chocolate batter. Whisk that together, and we'll move over to our mixer for the wet ingredients. This is a rich, buttery cake, and the base of it is creamed butter and sugar. Butter in there. Let's add our granulated sugar. Beat the butter and sugar together on high speed until smooth and creamy. This will take about 3 minutes. This is basically like a marble cake, but it has a fun zebra striped pattern when you cut into it, which makes it a little extra special. Perfect for special occasions, especially birthdays, because it's fun and surprising when you cut into it. That's good. It's extra creamy and ready for the eggs. This is 5 room temperature eggs. Room temperature means that they'll just mix together very evenly and easily into the creamed butter and sugar. I'm going to mix this on medium speed until combined. That looks good. I'm going to again scrape down the edges. We're working with a lot of batter here, so definitely scrape down those edges. Make sure everything gets to the bottom of the bowl. And sour cream for a little extra moisture, and vanilla extract. Mix those together. At this point, the mixture is going to look a little curdled and separated. That's completely normal. It's because so many different textures are trying to mix together. Once you add the dry ingredients, everything will come together nicely. All right, let's grab those dry ingredients again and buttermilk. And we're going to add these 2 ingredients to the wet ingredients in different additions. So we'll start with a little bit of flour, then a little bit of buttermilk, mix, and then repeat until everything is used. A little bit of the dry ingredients and a little bit of the buttermilk. Makes for an extra moist and rich cake. Mix those together and repeat. More dry. And the rest of the dry, followed by the rest of the buttermilk. And after everything's been added, mix it together just until combined. The batter will be smooth, velvety, and slightly thick. Now we're going to divide the batter in half, and that is what I love about this recipe, is that both batters come from the same base batter. All right, so this recipe makes about 8 cups of batter. And I don't usually measure it when I divide it. I just kind of eyeball it. Again, this doesn't really need to be perfect. Transfer half of this to another bowl. I'm just giving it one last stir. And I'm just gonna eyeball it. It's good. For our chocolate ingredients, we have some warmed milk, a little bit of espresso powder, cocoa powder, and a little bit of sugar. For the milk and espresso powder, so this is warmed milk, I added espresso powder. Now that is going to kind of amplify the chocolate flavor, and the warm milk helps dissolve the espresso powder. Okay, pour that in. And a cocoa powder, you can use natural or Dutch process, and a little bit of sugar because cocoa powder is quite bitter. Whisk all of that together. Both batters are ready. Now let's prepare our cake pans. This batter fits perfectly in 3 9-inch round cake pans, and I'm going to prepare the cake pans just like I always do. I spray each one with a little nonstick spray, and then line them with a parchment paper round, which I cut out from a large piece of parchment paper, and I trace the bottom of the pan on the parchment so they fit nicely. And then we will spray these as well, just to make sure it's a very non-stick environment for our cakes, so they do not stick. This is a thick batter, which is important for this recipe because As you're layering the two batters together, it helps keep them separate, where a thin, runny batter would end up just all spreading together and you would lose that marble zebra look. I have 2 large spoons here, one for chocolate, one for vanilla. And I am going to drop a large spoonful of the batter, doesn't matter which one you start with, into the bottom of the pan. Get a little bit more. I'm going to do that to each of them. Going with the vanilla here. And I'm spreading it around a little bit to make a nice big circle. Got the first layer in. And now for chocolate, we're gonna do the same thing, just spoon batter on top of it. And I like to rotate the pan because you want to keep these layers in a circle shape. Add each layer of batter to each cake pan at the same time. That way you know your layers are going to be mostly even. Back to vanilla, and again, rotating this pan helps me keep everything in a circle shape. This takes a little bit of time and patience, but I promise the results are worth it when you cut into that cake. Instead of chocolate and vanilla batter, you can just divide the vanilla batter and maybe tint half of it a different color for colored stripes instead of chocolate. As the batter starts piling up, I recommend shaking the pans a little bit to help spread the batter to the edges, just like this. This can get a little messy. Have a kitchen towel nearby for your hands. Don't overthink this too much. Every spoonful of batter doesn't have to be perfectly round or perfectly even. It sort of looks like a bullseye. These batters won't really bleed together because the batter is thick and creamy. It's not thin and runny. You have some nice separation here. And with chocolate, 1 last spoonful of vanilla for each. 1 last shake, make sure it's even on top. Ready for the oven. Bake these at 350 degrees Fahrenheit for around 25 to 27 minutes or until the cakes are baked through. Allow the cakes to cool in the pan set on a cooling rack for 1 hour. Remove the cakes from the pans and let them finish cooling directly on the cooling racks. The parchment didn't even stick. As the cakes are finishing cooling, go ahead and make the chocolate cream cheese frosting. My chocolate cream cheese frosting is so delicious on this cake, but regular chocolate buttercream or even vanilla buttercream would also taste great here. Start by beating the cream cheese on high speed until completely smooth and creamy, which takes about 1 minute. Nice and softened. Scrape down the edges before I add the butter. And beat those together until they are completely combined. That's great. Scraping down the sides once again. I'm just gonna remove this temporarily. And for the rest of the ingredients, confectioner sugar, cocoa powder, again, you can use Dutch process or natural, vanilla extract, milk, and a little bit of salt. And we'll start it at low speed and gradually increase it to medium-high speed. Now we are ready to assemble the zebra cake. Start by leveling the cake layers using a large serrated knife or a cake leveling tool if you have one. Slice a thin layer off the top of the cake. I usually find these dome a little bit on top, so that's why we level them. Place 1 layer of cake on your cake stand or use a cake turntable if you have one. And we'll add some frosting on top. I just eyeball the amount, but it's about a cup of frosting, around 240 grams. And I am using a large icing spatula, just spreading it to the edges. Top with the second cake layer, and I place it upside down so the top layer has a flat surface to sit on. And to top with another cup. This is a smooth frosting, so it spreads very nicely. The magic of this zebra cake is when you cut into these layers, because you still can't really tell. Last layer, and you can place this right side up or upside down. Spread the remaining frosting into a thick layer all over the top and sides. Placed it all in the center, and I am pushing it out to the edges. Then using the same icing spatula, I'm going to work it down to the bottom. You can keep the edges of the cake smooth using a bench scraper, or you can add some swoops and swirls using your spatula. If you want to garnish with some sprinkles, go ahead and add them now. You can add them to the sides or on top. I'm just gonna top this one. Perfect for a birthday or any celebration. Refrigerate the cake for at least 45 minutes before slicing. This helps the cake keep its shape when cutting, especially because this is a cream cheese frosting. Now is the fun part, cutting into the cake to see what those zebra stripes look like. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you feel inspired to try a new baking recipe today. Head over to my website for the full written recipe and all of my success tips. You can also ask a question right there on the recipe page, and my team and I will be happy to answer.